Aloha everyone, my name is Kapehe, and in today's video, we are going to be building out our very own portfolios. Super excited for it, super excited for our final product. So without further ado, let's see what our final product looks like. So here we have our homepage, we have blog posts, we have projects, and we have about me. We also have social icons over here. Now this whole front end is built with React. We're going to be building out a single page application. If you prefer a static site generator, you can use Next.js. That's a great alternative. So that's going to be our front end. Our back end, where all of our content is going to be managed, is going to be with Sanity. Sanity has the Sanity Studio, and this is where we will have titles for our blog posts, slugs, author, all that good content, projects, that kind of stuff. So all of our content will live here. We'll be able to add stuff, remove stuff, but that's where our content will live. And then all the styling will be done with TailwindCSS. It is the CSS framework that we will be using for this project. It's kind of like a shorthand way of writing CSS, and it turns out beautiful. So super excited for that. Now, some prerequisites that you will need. You will need Node installed on your computer. So if you go to nodejs.org, be sure to follow the instructions and get that downloaded onto your computer. Now, let me tell you about my social links and where to find me. So we have Twitter. Twitter, you can find me at Kapehe_OK. For my YouTube, I do have my own channel, /Kapehe, and then LinkedIn /Kapehe as well. Now, on my Twitter DMs are open, so feel free to send over your project, send over your portfolio. When you are done with it, I would love to see how yours turned out. I would love to see how you customized it, what content you have on there. It's super awesome to see all the work that you put in. So my DMs are open. Definitely send a message my way with the link to your finished portfolio. I would love to see it. So yeah, let's get started and let's get coding. Okay, so let's get our React application set up, then our Sanity Studio set up, and then let's connect the two. So I'm going to grab my terminal, and wherever you want your project to live, navigate to that folder. I'm going to run the command npx create React app and then the word portfolio. I'm going to hit enter, and while that builds, let me talk about that command. So npx brings in the latest version of whatever package follows npx. So instead of doing npm install globally create React app, we're going to one time grab the package, create React app, and use it with the latest version. Then we're going to use create React app to create our React app. And then the word portfolio is what we're naming it. And that's just what our project is named now. So it looks like it's done building, and it will give us a couple instructions. But if we do cd portfolio, that changes directories or changes folders into our new project named portfolio. So using the command code space period, that is a shortcut for opening up our text editor VS Code from the terminal. So I'm going to hit enter. That's going to open up my portfolio project. And right here we have source. This is where our application lives. App.js. This is just the boilerplate stuff. Now let's see if this is actually running. So if we hit Control tilde, let me bring that up. Control tilde, and then in here we're going to do npm start. npm start will start it on localhost 3000 in our browser, and I have it on the other monitor, but let me bring that in, and it looks good. So that's what the Create React app did for us. So awesome. Our React application is all set up. Now, back into our code, I'm going to hit this little plus sign. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding another terminal window, and I'm going to start building out my Sanity Studio. Okay, so there's a couple things we need to do beforehand if we don't have Sanity installed on our computer already. So if you need the Sanity CLI, you can do npm install -g, and then it's @sanity/CLI. That will allow us to run the Sanity commands that we need to run throughout building this project. I'm not going to run that because I already have it. And then to make sure you are logged in to your Sanity account, you can do Sanity login and then follow the login prompts, and you're good to go. So because I already have both of those already set up, the next command we're going to do is sanity init. And this is going to initialize a brand new project for us. So it's going to ask us a series of questions. Let's go through them. So create new project. Yep. So press enter. Project name. Let's call this studio. Yeah. Hit enter. Default data set. Yes. So it's creating the data set. And then next it's going to give us the path for our project to make sure it's correct. Portfolio/studio. Cool. And then here are the different templates we can choose from. There's movie, e-commerce, blog, or a clean project. So blog and portfolio are so similar. We're going to actually use the blog template. So what this is doing is all of our content will live in Sanity, in our Sanity studio. So, and we'll show the studio in a second, but this is creating a boilerplate template for us so we can start building on a blog or e-commerce or movie project. So navigate to blog with the arrow keys and hit enter. And it's doing stuff. It's adding files. You can see studios right here. So it's building it all out. And it should be done very soon. And once that's done, we will see a couple of different commands. We will need to CD into our new project. And that will be using CD Studio in our case, or whatever you named it. So hit enter. And now that we're in the studio, let's get it started. So to get it started, all you need to run is Sanity start. So it's kind of easy to remember that because for React, we did npm start, and for Sanity, Sanity start. It just kind of makes it easy to remember. So yeah, once we do that, I'm actually going to open up localhost 3333 because that's where it's going to live, and we see that there. And let me bring that over. So I need to log in. I did it via my GitHub, so whatever you did, Google or GitHub. Then we have post, we have author category. So this is the template that it built for us. This is my studio. This is the UI that is very customizable. So we're actually going to be changing a couple things here as we move on. We're going to be removing category, and we're going to be adding project. But here, this is where we can add content, and it will show up on our website. So yeah, let's not spend too much time in the studio yet because we're going to be using it a lot. Okay, so now that we have our Sanity project and our React project all set up, let's connect the two. So if we go into our root of our project for our React, so within the source folder, we're going to create a new file, and we'll call it client.js. This is what we're going to use to talk to Sanity. So whenever we try and grab data, it's going to say, well, what project do you need it from? And this is where it will look. So I'm going to add another terminal while I'll keep those running. And we need to install the Sanity client package. So to do that, we're going to do npm install at sanity/client. So while that installs, let me bring this down. We're going to import that, and we'll do import Sanity client from Sanity client. Then we're going to do export default. We'll do Sanity lowercase, camel case. I keep hitting it. Sanity client. Open that up, and in here we're going to have our project ID and our data set, which we set to production when we set up our entire project, when we did Sanity in it. Okay, so project ID, what is that? Every Sanity project that you have has a project ID, and there's two spots we can find it. Let me show you those two spots. So if we go into Studio, and we go to sanity.json, it's right here. So I'm actually going to copy that because I'm going to need it. But that's our project ID. So if we come back here, save it there. Awesome. Now we have it linked up. Let me show you another place you can find it. So if you go to manage.sanity.io and you're logged in, this will pop up. This is where all of our projects will live. So I named it Studio, so this is where this one is. Click on that and we will see our project ID. Same thing as what was right there. Nice. So those are the two spots that we can find our project ID. Now our React application knows which project to look at, and from React to Sanity, it's all good. Now let's do from Sanity to React. So we want Sanity to tell React, hey, you're asking for this data. I don't know if you're trusted. So to do that, to make sure we have trusted URLs in place, in our manage.sanity, go into the project and click on settings, click on API. Within here, we have our course origins. So this is how, when we fetch for data, this is how we know it's a trusted URL and we can give the data to that URL that's requesting the data. So because we are on localhost 3000 with our React app, we want to add that here. So we're going to do add new origin, HTTP localhost 3000, add new origin. Awesome. So now when React asks for the data, it says, oh, okay, you're trusted. Now when we go to host it, we got to remember to add the hosted URL here as well. But yeah, those are set up. Let me move this over here. Let me save this. And that was installed. Awesome. And it's all set up. It's all ready to go. Now, as we do projects and we're building things out, we want to always make sure we save our progress. And that's what we have GitHub for. So let's actually get this project into GitHub. We're not going to be committing throughout this entire video, but it's a good practice to be committing as you do changes. But let's get it set up now. So I'm going to go to my GitHub. And I have a brand new repository set up. I'm going to call this my portfolio. You can name it whatever you'd like. But my portfolio, we'll skip all that for now. We'll do create repository. So what I'm going to do is follow these instructions right here. So let me bring that over. Let me bring this up, and I'm in portfolio. Okay, so the first one was git. Before I do that, this has 5,000 new files. We don't want to push all that to Git. So we're going to go into our git ignore, and everything that's in the git ignore won't go to GitHub. And all we want to do is remove this / on node modules, save that, come here, refresh that. Now it's down to 22 instead of 5,000. Much better. And now we are good to push this to GitHub. So we'll do git init, okay, initialize. Now we'll do git commit -m, and this is just our first initial commit, so we'll just do first commit. We'll do git branch main to change that, and then we'll do git remote add origin, and then I'm going to just copy the path to my new repository. Hit enter, and then we'll do git push origin main. And that is good. Now I didn't add any files. It was just initialized and it has the boilerplate stuff. So let's add all the things that we added. So we have 22 files. So we'll do git status. That's checking to see what's been changed. Everything in red has not been added. It's kind of just like hanging out. So we'll do git add period. Git add period adds all of them. Everything that was modified or added or deleted, git add period. And then I always like to do git status again because I like to see the green. And then we'll do git commit -m, and we'll say adding in Sanity Studio. Hit enter. So all I'm doing is naming my commit, and then we'll do git push origin main. And that's done. And let me pull over the repo. And if I go up and I go to my portfolio, we see 18 seconds ago adding in Sanity Studio. So everything that we just did is in our GitHub and we're good to go. And if you're working on a bigger project that isn't, you're going to spend more time on, more days on, you would commit as you go because you don't want to lose your progress. So yeah. So we've created the React application, the Sanity Studio, connected the two. It's now safely in our GitHub. Let's move on to making it ours. Okay, so now that we have our application set up and ready to go, let's set up our Tailwind our styling so that as we build it out, it'll all look nice. So Tailwind is a CSS framework that is highly customizable, as it says here, and it gives us all the building blocks we need to build our designs. So yeah, we're going to be using this today. Let's get it installed into our application so that it's ready for us. So up here at the top, type in installation. And here are just different ways to install Tailwind. We are, because this is just a quick demo, we're just going to take this URL. And I'm going to copy that. If you want to customize it more, definitely look at these other installation processes that are available. So I'm going to bring in our application. And if we go to index.css within the source folder, we're going to come in here and we're going to delete all that. And we'll do @import URL inside there. And we're going to put in that URL that we just copied from Tailwind. Now, there is one more thing we also need, and it's for our block content. So if we type in pros, this pros class will allow us to get that proper styling. So if we have a p tag, if we have an h1, if we have a list of items, it does the correct styling that we would expect. So we're going to want to bring that in. So I'm going to get that. So in here, I'm going to bring that down, and at the top, just so this gets applied before the Tailwind does, put it above. So that is for our pros class. Now, the last thing we want to do to import is we want to do a font, but I'm not going to spend so much time looking through fonts right now because I definitely can waste a lot of time on fonts, but we're not going to do that today. So I'm using Emotic today, and you can find that on Google's font page, but yeah, definitely go through and pick the one that you would like. Okay, so there's a couple different custom CSS things that we need, and I'm just going to add those in right now because I know we need them. So the first one I'm going to call cursive, and the font family is going to be that Emotic, SC, and then it will go to cursive if that's not available, and then weight 700. And then under here, we're going to use that pros class, but we're going to dive into the image of it. And we're going to do margin left auto. We're going to do margin right auto. And then we're going to do border radius 5 pixels. And the reason why we're doing a custom one for this is because we're diving into the pros. And so this just allows us, Tailwind, it can do it, but this just makes it just a little bit easier for us on this demo. And then home name font size, we will do 150 pixels because Tailwind has specific sizes. And so we want to make it a very specific giant size. So that's why we're using that. And you'll see, I'm going to save that. You'll see as we go through, we'll use these throughout, and I'll show where we're using it, where it's not Tailwind, where it's one of these custom ones. But yeah, that's all set up. Now let's go set up our components. If we go into source, we'll do new folder and we'll type in components. This is going to be all of our separate pages. So because we're building a single page application, we're going to break it up into different components or different pages, however you want to call it. And each one will have its own view, its own functionality. So we're going to go here and we're going to do new file. And we have a home. We have a home.js. We have an about. That's on our about page. We have our navbar. Navbar is going to live on all of these. We're going to do post. We're going to do project. And last one, single post. Single post. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's it. Okay, so these are our pages. These are our components. And so every time we visit the about page, it's going to pull up this about component or page, however you want to call it. But we have to be able to tell our application, hey, you need to navigate to this component and show this component when I'm at this URL. That is done by React Router or React Routing. So let's install React Routing so that we can be able to navigate to all of these. So in our app.js, let's get rid of this div. Now let's do that whole thing. And we don't need this logo, and we don't need that. So because we're using the React router, we need to be able to, let me get that, rid of that so the error goes away. So we need to install the React router DOM. So in order to do that, within our terminal that we have for our project, we're going to do npm install React router DOM. And this is the package we need in order to navigate within React. So up here, I'm going to import. And from React router DOM, there's a couple different things we're going to be using. We're going to be using browser, router, route, and switch. And that's going to be from, if I can type, React router DOM. And it's not, okay. So now it's done. And it's not being used, so that's why that's all kind of grayed out. In the return, this is where we're going to start using our browser router. Awesome. And it just opened right up for us. And then in here, we're going to use our switch so that as we are building stuff out, as people are clicking throughout the website, it switches to the particular component that needs to be displayed. So we're going to do in here route, and we're going to do a component equal to, and we're going to put something in there. We're going to do path is equal to, and close that off. Now we're going to do this 5 times because we're going to navigate to 5 different pages. So I'm going to copy that and 5. Cool. So in here, we need to declare our routes. Over here, we have about, home. Navbar, we're not going to navigate to because Navbar is always going to be visible. We're going to have post, project, and single post. So let's start at the top. So we'll do home. We're going to give that a path of / because we want that to be our home page. Yeah. And we're going to do an about page, and we'll do this one as /about. We will do next single post, and we will do /post. And I'm going to tell you why I did single post above regular post. So regular post, or all post really. And then project. And we'll give that a path of, oh, don't forget that /project. Okay, so notice how all of these have a slash at the front. And then this one also has a slash at the front. So we want to make sure that if we're at this /, don't be confused about any of the other slashes. Just know that if it's exactly this, if it's just a slash by itself, we're going to do the home page. So that's why we put the word exact for home, because we don't want it to be confused by these other ones. Now, we have post and slug above just post by itself. So the reason why we put it above is because it's going to want to find that full URL with the slug. If not, just show just the post page. So that's why we put that one above. So yeah, that's looking really good. Now we have to import all of these. So import home from, and it's like that. Cool. We're going to do it for all of these. About, we have single post, post from, single post. Awesome. And then we have post, and see how they're all being used because we have them down there in our routes. And then project from. Cool. So that is what we need for our routing. Okay, so the last thing we want to do is test this to make sure that our routing is set up correctly. But we do want to do kind of like a an empty component for each one, just so like it can kind of show something. So we're going to do import React from React, export default function, and this is the about page. And then we'll do that about page. Okay, so I'm going to copy all this. And this is just like a very simple component setup. We're importing the React so we can use it. And then export default function. We call it about to match up with the name of the file. And then we're just putting an H1 that says about page. So let's copy that and let's do that for post. And we just need to change this to, actually, so nifty trick, cursor there, hit option, and then you just made another cursor so we can type in multiple places. Okay, we'll do for project, hold down option, and we'll do project, save that, single post, hold down option, single post, save that, and then I think I missed home, yeah. Hold down option, nope, I didn't hold down option. Okay, and then that's home. And the navbar, we'll just put, I mean, it won't look like this, but we'll just, oh no. I messed up on my option thing. Okay. Okay, so let's get this running and let's see if our navigation works. Okay, home page. So if I did a / for about, I did not spell that right, for about page. And if we do, single post won't show up because there's no route that's called single post. So we didn't really need to put anything in there, but post works there. Yeah, because we don't have slugs for the routing right now. And we did about, yeah, they're all working. So that's really awesome. And if we click back to the / by itself, we go back to home page. So yeah, all of our routing is set up and our Tailwind is brought in. So I think we're ready to make our homepage look really awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's work on the navigation bar. Yeah, let's work on that first. Okay, so our nav bar, we need a couple things to be imported at the top of this file. So because we are using the routing part of our application the most up in the nav bar, we don't want people to be clicking or having to type the URL in the nav bar. They're going to click to it and we'll take them to that URL that they're clicking on. So in here, we're going to be using the nav link from React Router DOM. Okay. And then we're also going to be importing something else, but we will worry about that in a second. Okay. So I'm going to delete all this and we're going to do a new return. And in here, we're going to have a header, a div, and then the nav section. So let's build out our HTML part of our nav bar. So in here, so in our nav, we're going to have our nav links. This is going to be, we're going to be using nav link, and we're going to do this 3 times, but let's build out one. Okay, so in our nav link, our first one, it's going to be Kapehe, but you can put whatever you want that navigates people to your home. And I think I have 4. Kapehe, we're going to do blog posts. And this is just the name that's going to show up in the nav bar. Blog posts, projects, and this one will be about me. Okay, and then within each nav link, we're going to give it a navigate to. Kapehe is going to be navigating to homepage. The blog post one is going to go to post, it's singular. Project is going to go to project. And about me is going to go to the about page. And I almost forgot all of these forward slashes. Okay, so that looks great. Now we're going to do the exact same thing and we're going to put exact on this just so it knows to not be confused by these other slashes. And if it's the singular one, go to the home page. Okay, so right now navbar isn't really being used. We can't really test it right now. So let's test it. So I'm going to go over here and we need to come to app.js. Let's import our navbar from. Awesome. Okay, and then right under browser router, we're going to add in navbar. Okay, so now anytime the application is open and running, Navbar will show up at the top. Okay, and let's go check it out. I have an error. Oh, it's inside my quote. So let's move that out. Save, and there it is. Okay, so it's not pretty, but we'll get there. So everything is clickable. You see how my cursor changes? So if I click on Kapehe, it'll keep me on home. If I click on blog posts, it'll take me to post page. If I click on projects page, about me page. So yeah, it all looks good. Navbar is working, and it's going to be on every single one because we put it in our app.js. So now that we have it all working, let's style it all. And let's get Tailwind working. So for our navbar in our header, this is how Tailwind will look for our entire project. So we're going to do class name, and class name is how React does styling. We're going to do in here, I'm going to start off with BG red 600. So what this is background color is going to be red at a darkness level of 600. 900 is the darkest, 100 is the lightest, so we are at a 600. So let me save that, and let me just show you what that has done. So it's given us a background color of red, and it's going to be pretty dark. Let's move to our div. We'll do same thing. We'll do class name is equal to, so container, so we're going to create a container for everything within this div. We'll do MX auto, so that's going to be a margin around the x-axis of auto. We're going to do flex, and flex is how we're going to put everything within this div. We're going to do justify between, and justify between is going to make like spacing between each thing. And let's save that. And sure enough, it kind of pushed everything over. So I'm not going to go back and forth for all these, but I just wanted to kind of like show what it looks like as we go at the beginning. And then class name, we're going to give it flex for the navigation. Now in our nav link, each one of these is going to have pretty much the same styling. So I'm going to go through one, and then we will copy and paste. It's just, so Kapehe will be different than blog post projects and about me. So we'll copy for those, but Kapehe will have its own. And yeah. So right here, we'll do class name is equal to, so inline flex. So the flex is going to be inline with each other. Items, center the items. Padding Y of 3, so padding on the Y-axis of 3. Padding on the X-axis of 3. Oh wait, no, not 3. On this one I wanted 6 for the Y. Oh. Okay, and then we want margin right of 4. And we want a text red of 100, so pretty light. Now, the really awesome thing about Tailwind is we can do hover effects right in here. So we can do hover, text, green, 800. So when we hover over it, it becomes green. Now we want all the text to be pretty large at 4XL. Then we want the font to be bold. We want to use cursive, which is our custom one that we made earlier. And we want tracking widest. Tracking widest is the spacing between the letters. And yeah, that is all we need for the first one. I am wrong. No, we need an active class name. So I'm going to do active class name is equal to. Now, active class name is when we are on the page that this one links to, do something a little bit different. So that active class name is going to have a text of white. So the text will be white when we're on the home page. And that's it for Kapehe. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and you are going to see that it all kind of cleaned itself up. So I'm using Prettier on here. It's an extension for VS Code, and so it kind of like cleans up the code as you type. So when I save, that's why it's changing. So now that that's there, I'm going to work on blog post projects and about me. And these are all going to have the exact same class name styling to it. So in here, I'm going to do, same as the other one, inline flex, items, center, padding Y of 3, so a little bit different there, padding X of 3. We're going to do a margin Y of 6, rounded text red of 200, so it's pretty light. We're going to do a hover of text green 800. And let's save that. And you saw the prettier just do its thing right there. I'm going to copy that. Copy. And then put it in there. Put it in there. Save that. And that should look really awesome. Let's go check it out. Yay. So it does. So now our our nav bar is looking pretty good. Actually, let me zoom in so you can really check that out. Looks good. And as we hover, it changes to green. Now we don't have active class name on those three, so let's go build it out. So right here, we'll do it right underneath. So active class name. So when it is clicked, when we are in the blog post page, this is what our styling will look like. So our text will be red of 100, and we'll do a background color red of 700. Let's copy that, put it on all of these, and let's go see what that looks like. Sure enough. So it has that little background rounded, looks good. Now we want to have little social icons over here so people can go to our Twitter or our YouTube or whatever platform we're using for our content. So let's come here, and underneath this nav, we're going to open up for another div. We're going to be using another package. So this one's called React Social Icons. So I'm going to do Control tilde. I'm going to Control C that so it ends it. We're going to do npm install React Social Icons. Let me show you React Social Icons real quick. Okay. Now in here, it's going to look like this. And if we want to customize it, we're going to see more usage options on the example site. So here, it's going to detect the URL. And so that's why the particular icon will come up. We'll have our URL in here and we'll know which one to put. And then if we want to style it, we're going to do this inline styling and change the size of our icon because it starts out pretty small. So we're going to make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, let's get those going. So now that is installed, let's put this away. All right, so right in here, let's import it real quick. Import social icon from React Social Icons. Now we're going to open up a couple different ones. So we're going to type in social icon, close it off, and we're going to just do that 3 times because we're going to do 3 different social icons. You can do as many as you want. This package is really awesome because it really just detects the URL that you put in there, finds the icon for it, and then voila, you have it. So the URL is going to be our first bit. We're going to have class name, and in here we're just going to have a margin right of 4. We're going to have a target for blank so that opens up a new page. We don't want people to leave our portfolio. Maybe we're going to have a foreground color of, and this is a part of the package doing the FG color. We're going to do white, so that's going to make the icon more bright for us. And then we're going to do style is equal to, and this is the inline styling that we have to do for this package. And we'll do height of 35 and width of 35. And before I finish that off, I'm going to copy that whole thing. So I don't know why I typed those out, but that's okay. And then each one of these will just be different because of the URL that we put in. So let me grab my Twitter And this is where you get your URL of choice. There's my Twitter. Here is my YouTube. And then here is my LinkedIn. Save that. And again, Prettier is installed, so that's why I did all that. Let's go look at it. Oh, I got to restart it. Fingers crossed. There they are. And they're really high up. Oh, I know what we forgot. We need to style this div right here. So this div is going to have a class name. And so this is for our social icons. That's why they're like pushed to the top. We'll do inline flex. We'll do padding Y of 3 and a padding X of 3 and a margin Y of 6. Save that. And yeah, looks good. Okay, so if I were to click on one of these, it takes me to my Twitter. So yeah, if I click on this, it takes me to my YouTube and it opens up a new tab every time. That was the target _ blank. So yeah, there's our navbar. Our navbar is totally set up and ready to go. Let's style our homepage. Okay, next we're going to work on the homepage, and the homepage is going to have that background image and then words. I do aloha, I'm Kapehe. So we're going to work on that right now. So navigate to your home.js folder, and we're going to empty out the return and open it up. We're going to have a main tag, and within that, we'll have an image. We'll also have a section, and then within that section, we're going to have an H1. And that H1 is going to say, aloha, I'm Kapehe. So yeah, it'll look like this. This is going to be our breakup. So the image is going to be our background image. And then the main is the entire page, the entire component. We want to pull in our own image. So I'm going to, from my downloads, I'm going to grab an image and I'm going to put it into my source folder. So this is Monstera leaves. This is going to be my background. You can pick any image you'd like, but we're going to use Monstera leaves because I love Monstera leaves. So using that, let's import image from, and it should be 2 up, Monstera leaf.jpg. Okay, so that is going to be our image right here. So we're going to do a source of image. And then we're going to have an alt. So the alt tag is for screen readers. That's going to be what it would like, what the text would be for it to say instead of showing the image. So we're going to have it say Monstera leaves. And then we're going to give it a class name. We're just going to style this right away of absolute. So absolute will make it so while it's scrolling or like while things are happening, it has its own position. It's not being manipulated by the things around it. It worries about itself and its absolute position. We're going to do object cover, so it covers the area that we need it to. We're going to do width full and height full. So we're going to save that, and that should be good in there. In our section, we're going to do a class name here of relative. So relative to the things around it, it's going to have a flex and a justify center. It will also have a min height screen and then a padding top of 12. And then on large screens, okay, this is a really awesome thing about Tailwind. In Tailwind, you can do responsive styling within your styling that's happening right here. So if you don't do anything before it, so like hover, it happens when you hover. LG means for large screens, we're going to have a particular styling. And then there's medium screens and then small screens. But we're going to work on large. So large would be padding top of 64. And then always padding X of 8. Okay, and then our H1 class name is equal to, we'll do text of 6XL, so pretty big. We're going to do text green of 100, so pretty light on the 100 on the green. We're going to do a font bold, and then we're going to use our custom CSS that we made, the cursive. we're going to do leading none, so like the area around. Large screens, we're going to do leading snug, so it's close. And then we're going to use that home name that we did in our index.css. And that should be everything for our homepage. Let's pull that up, and sure enough, now I'm zoomed in a little bit, so this is what it would look like not zoomed in. But yeah, our homepage is done. We brought in our background image, we brought in our text and our styling for it, so it looks super good. And again, if we were to navigate around, those aren't styled, but Kapehe, homepage, and Navbar are all styled and ready to go. So let's move on to, let's do our blog post page next. And we're actually going to be getting into our content. So our Sanity Studio is going to start showing up. So let's get started on that one. Okay, so let's work on the blog post section. Let's pull that code up. So under post, and we have our post page. Let's get rid of that and let's hide this. Okay, so in this is where all of our blog posts are going to live, or any content that you may have that you want to showcase on your portfolio. We're going to be pulling in the data from our Sanity Studio, and so that's where we're going to finally see the connection between the two and how that's going to work. There's two different ways you can query for your information with Sanity. So there's either GraphQL or Grok. We're going to be using the Grok way today. So Grok is an in-house, Insanity house made query language, and we'll walk through how it looks. But if you're familiar with GraphQL, this will also look familiar. But if you're familiar with either one of them, then welcome to Grok. Okay, so first thing we need to do, because we are going to be using our data from Sanity, is we need to import our Sanity client, and that's going to be 2 up. Yeah. So this file is the one that we made earlier that has, let me just remind you all, in our, no, not in our studio, right here, client.js. This is where our Sanity project ID lives. This is where we pulled in the Sanity client so that we can use all this. So that's where we're at right now. So let me go back to post. Let me get rid of these. We don't need that. Okay, so I brought in the Sanity client. Now above the return, this is where we're going to set our state and query for our information. So in React, the way we want to get our state is by using React hooks. React hooks was introduced a couple years ago. So we're going to be setting our state, and then we're going to be using that state with a use state, and then we're going to be setting that state. So that's how our data will flow. So state, use the state, and then set our new state, our new data. So we are going to import not only React, but also use state, use effect. Use effect is also a React hook that will be fetching for our data. So what we're going to be doing is fetching for our Sanity data. Use effect will help us get that data and use it. So first we're going to set our state. We're going to do const. We'll do post data and then set post. So post data is what our state is called. Set post is what setting our state is called. And then we're going to do use state and set that. So set our initial state to null. And then underneath this is where we're going to use the use effect. And we're going to do an arrow function. Open that up. And we're going to use the Sanity client and fetch for our data. At this point, we are now in Grok mode. So those backticks are where the Grok query is going to live. And yeah, let's just start writing it out, and we'll walk through it all slowly just so we can kind of see what's happening. So the asterisk in Grok is all data, and oh, not curly. In here, we're going to do underscore type. So the type that is equal to post. And I will show you between Sanity Studio in this how that looks. We're going to open this up. And in here, we are going to be finding the title, the slug, the main image. And then for this, we're going to be pulling out from the main image the asset of ID and URL. And then down here, we're going to be pulling in the alt of the image. So let's walk through this. Let me save that. It did prettier and fix some of the spacing for us. Let's go over this real quick. So we're going to look at all types that are equal to post. Grab the title, the slug, the main image, and the alt for that. Now, out of here, because once we grab all that data, we need a .then. So fetch the data. Then what are we going to do with it? We're going to get the data and equal it to, set post. So now the data that we've pulled out, our data is now being set post, which is setting our state. So that's what we've named it. And then if there's any errors, we're going to do a .catch and we'll do console.error. Now we want this to only run once. So after this, we are going to do that and we are good to go. Okay. So this is our entire query for our information. So in our return, we will open this up. We're going to have a main section. We're going to have a section within that. And then within that section, we're going to have an H1. We're going to have an H2. And we're going to have a div. So I'm just really setting up for our layout of our post page. Within the div, we're going to have an article. In the article, we're going to have a span. And within the span, we're going to have an image, another span within that, and an H3. Cool. And this entire thing right here is going to be clickable. So it's going to link us to the page because this is all of our blog posts. So if we click on one, it will go into the particular blog post that we picked on. Save that. So this is what our page looks like. So we have our main section. This is going to be the entire page. We have a section of content. And within that, we have an H1 and an H2. It will say blog post page. And then our H2 will say, welcome to my page of blog posts. So it's a title and then a subtitle for our page. And then we'll style those a little bit. And then within that, we have our article that includes a clickable tile of an image, and the H3 will be the title of our blog post. So let's get this all built out and let's just work our way down. So our main, let's give it some styling. We'll do class name. Let me move this over. Class name equal to, so background of green of 100, so pretty light, min height screen, and then P12, so a padding of 12. This section, we're going to do a class name of container. So we're making a container out of this section, and then the margin on the X will be auto. Our H1 class name will be, so text 5XL, so pretty big. Flex, so we're bringing in flex. Justify center, so things are centered. And then cursive, that's our custom one that we made earlier. Our H2 will have a class name equal to text large, so smaller than the main header. Text gray of 600. Flex, justify center, so it'll be the same spot as the header. And then we'll do a margin bottom of 12. Then we have, let's do our div right above the article. So class name equal to, so we're going to be making a grid with this. It'll be a grid of tiles of all of our blog posts. So grid on a medium screen, the grid we want to be columns of 2. And on a large screen, grid columns of 3. So if it's a large screen, it's going to have 3 columns. Medium screen, so like an iPad, 2 columns. Anything smaller than that, 1 column. So we just did responsiveness in line with Tailwind. That's awesome. And then a gap of 8. So that's the spacing around all the tiles. Okay. Now that looks really good. Let's save that. Now this is where we're going to use the data that we've pulled in from Sanity Studio. We're going to be using it in this because that's where we're going to have like our blog post title, like we brought in up here, title, main image, all that good stuff. So we want to link to, we need to bring in, because this is React Router DOM, we need to bring in, right here, import, we'll do link from React Router DOM. Awesome. So now we can officially use it. Okay, so in here, when you click on a tile in your blog post page, we want to link to, it's not going to be hard coded in because every single time we click on something, it's going to be particular to that, that tile. So we're going to do right here, curly braces. And then in here, we'll do post plus post dot, not data, dot slug dot current. So whatever slug we're clicking on, the current one, we're going to show that one. We're going to give it a key of, and we will name this post dot slug dot current. That will be the unique key that it gets. Cool. Now in our span around this, we're going to give it a class name. This is just so we can style our cards. We'll do block, height of 64, relative, so that's like location. It's relative to the stuff around it. Rounded, it's going to have a little rounded edge. We're going to give it a shadow. Leading snug, so spacing around it, around like the letters. Background of white. Border on the left side of 8. Border will be green at 400. We also need to give it an index. So we'll do key equal index. Great. Now our image in here, we're going to do source of, and if we were to do a, like what we did with the homepage where we just brought in the Monstera leaf file, if we wanted to do that, then we could bring that in. But because we want it to be particular to whatever content we have in our studio and whatever we have for that blog post, we are going to do post.mainImage.asset.url. The alt, remember the alt text is going to be if it's using a screen reader, this is what it will say instead of showing the image. We're going to do post.mainImage.alt, and we brought that in our grok. And then let's give it some styling, class name, and we'll do width full, height full, and this is in the area that it's in. We'll do rounded on the right, and then we'll do object, cover, and then absolute. So it has an absolute position. Now span, we just need to add a class name to this. We'll do block, relative, height is full. We're going to bring in flex, justify, end. So now we're pushing it to the end. We've been using justify center, which brings things to the center. This is going to be the end. And then items end, padding right of 4, padding bottom of 4. In our H3, we're going to give it some styling as well. We're going to do we're going to do class name of text gray 800, text large, font bold. We'll do a padding X of 3, padding Y of 4, background red at 700, so pretty dark. Text is going to be red 100. Now we're going to have a background opacity of 75. So it'll be a little see-through kind of. So it won't be like just like a block with the title on it, and then rounded. Save that. And because we want it to be where's my H3? Right here. Because we want the title to match whatever title the blog post is, we are not going to hard code in anything. We are going to look for the post.title. Now, the only thing we need to do is we need to map over all of this data. So starting right above the article, because this contains all the stuff that we're doing, we're going to map over our post data. So let me remove that curly and bring it down below this article. And then once we hit save, I'm prettier, that should help. help it out. So right here, we're going to do post data. So we're finding that data that we've set for the post data and post data.map. So we're going to map over all this information. We're going to do post and the index of it, do an arrow function and open that up. Now these two, we want to cut that and bring it down right in front of that curly. Save that. Now we're mapping over all the information that is clickable. So this whole grid system, it's mapping over and it's making sure we're showing all of the data that we need to. And then that should be it. So let me bring up my terminal, do npm start, and then in another terminal, whoops, that's just reloading. In another terminal, we will cd into Studio. Now we're in Studio, and let's do Sanity start to get our Sanity Studio going. So while that goes, we will have localhost 3000 has our stuff. I don't want to click on blog post yet, but it should look really good. Localhost 3333, this is where our Sanity Studio lives. So let's make sure we add in some content. So when we go to our post, so this post is same as, get rid of this post. Now let me show you how that looks in the Sanity code. So if we come over here, let's collapse that. Let's open up our studio. If we come to schemas and we click on post, this is where our post document type lives. So we have name of post and title of post. So that name, that type is what we're looking for right here. See that lowercase? But it has a title of capital P post. And that's what lives right here. So we have title, we have slug, we have author, main image, all this stuff that you see here. We go back to our studio, click on post, and we click on that little thing to add a new one. And we have all that stuff that was over in our code right here. So if we clicked on title and we did my very first blog post, we generate that slug and it's going to create a slug for us. Author, we shouldn't have anything in here. Yeah, there's no results. So we will create an author in just 1 second. But right now, an author would go there right here, and we're just matching up with main image. So we just skipped author, main image. This author has a type of reference to author, which is this author schema right here. So everything's connected. It's really awesome. So this is the author one that we're going to add information to, and we'll look at that in just 1 minute. So referencing that schema. Now this main image, we're going to add stuff to it. There's category, published at, but we're really just going to worry about this main image right now. We're going to upload from our downloads. Let's do Monstera Leaf, open. I'm just going to be using this picture all over because I love it. There it is. Awesome. And then body, we'll just do, this is my blog post. Hope you like it. And then we'll do an old-fashioned smiley face. Okay, let's publish that. Okay, it's published. But let's go add an author real quick. So I'm going to click on author type for my content. Nothing has been added, so I'm going to click on this little button right here. And we will fill in our information. Generate a slug, and you could type that slug in if you wanted to do something different. Upload. I have my picture. And then bio will do developer relations at Sanity. Also enjoys anime. Okay, so publish that. It's published. Now we're going to go back to our post. Click on this. Now we can add an author. Voila. So let's see what it looks like. It's all published. If we come back here, let's just refresh it just in case. If we click on blog post, we should see that blog post and our grid all set up. It'll only show once, so we actually kind of won't see the grid, but we should see our blog post that we just created. So we'll click on it, and there it is. So if we click on it, it'll do nothing right now because that's our single post component. But yeah, it looks super good. It's actually getting our data that we wanted, and we have our very first blog post. If I were to add one more thing, so we'll do right here, my second blog post will generate, we'll add that, upload, we'll do the plumerias this time because I love plumerias, favorite flower. And then I'll say, this is my second blog post. Woohoo. Okay, publish that. And then if we come back here, refresh, and there it is. Super quick. My second blog post came up, and we see that like opacity thing that we did. Click on it, and it goes to single post page because we haven't really done anything here. But yeah, it's working. It's talking to our Sanity studio. We have our blog post showing up. Remember that little border that we did on the side, that green border? That's what that is. We have our rounded edges. So super excited about this. It's looking really good. Let's move on to the projects page. Okay, so before we can build out our projects page, we actually want to add the schema for projects. So right now, let's look at the ones that we do have. We have post, which we're already using. We have author, which we're already using. And we have category, which we are not using, but it is in our post section. So just for demo purposes, I'm going to clean it up just so we don't have it there. We're not going to be using it. If you'd like to keep it, of course, you can keep it. But I'm going to go in here and I'm in my studio folder under schemas. Go to category, and we're just going to delete this file. And then we're going to go to schema and get rid of category, get rid of that import. And then the one spot it is being used in post, there's a reference to category. So I'm just going to get rid of that, and we should see that missing. Awesome. So now category is gone. Category is gone from our posts, and awesome. Let's now add a project schema. So in the schema folder still, we're going to do new file. We're going to do project.js. And before we start building anything out, let's go to schema. Let's import project from project. And then down here, let's bring in project. Save that. Okay. And then we'll go over here back to our project, and let's start building out our schema. So export default, open that up. We'll give it a name of project, a title, and we'll call it project just with a capital P because that's what is going to show up in our studio. And the type is going to be document. Now within this, we're going to have different fields. The fields are going to be not curly. The fields are going to be what we see when we are like adding stuff, so like title or that kind of thing. So within here, we're going to do name, title, and this will have a type of string. And then we're going to do another one. Let's do name is, we'll do date. Type is date time. And that's going to be the date of our finished project. We're going to do a name, so place, and you can edit any of this, add or take away whatever you would like. Type will be string. So we will also add name is description. And then this description will also be a type of, not also, but it will be a type of text. It'll just be a block style. Okay, so then we're going to add a fun one. So we're going to do another object. We're going to do name is project type. The title is going to be project type, and then the type is going to be string. Now, the fun part, we're going to do an options list. So we have the project type. We're going to add options. Open that up. We're going to do list. And we're going to give this value, personal, and I will walk through this. Let me just type it out real quick. Title personal. Okay, so let me hide this because it's just giving us stuff. Okay. Oh, this, not curly, needs to be like that. Okay. Okay, so project type, the title is project type is string. But options, we're going to give it a list. So we're going to, as many times as we want to do items in the list, we can just keep going. And it'll just be a big drop-down list of things that we want in here. So this value, we're going to do client. So these are just different projects that we work on and who the project was for. Was it a personal project? Was it a client project? Or was it a school project? So those are going to be our 3 options in our dropdown, and we will see that dropdown in a minute. And then we will come out of here and we will do name of link, and we're going to link to the URL, that's going to be our type of our project, because if our project is hosted, we can take them right to the link them with the URL to the project, and so they can just see it right away. And then yeah, we'll add tags. We won't do much with these tags, but just so we can see how tags are added in a schema. So type will be array, and will be tags of, type will be string. That's really far down there. Let me pull it up. Options will be the layout of tags, and you'll see how tags are done in just a moment. Okay, so that should look good. We have an error. Oh, I know. It's fields with an S. Okay, so fields, not field. Save that, and it should be good now. Cool. Okay, so here it is. We have our post, author, and project. Project will have nothing so far because we don't have anything. But if we click here, we'll see that whole schema that we just did. Okay? So title, my first project. Place, I don't know why, you can put anything there, but for now we'll do that. Description, this is a project I did for myself. Project type, so if it was a personal project, see that drop down, we can click on personal. Link to, and we'll just do Google. And then tags, this is where we can do different tags. Let's say we want to do personal, project, React, Sanity. Okay, maybe those are the tags that we put in. But that's how the tags work in our studio. Let's publish that. And we're not going to see it anywhere because we're not querying for it. So let's go back to our code and let's navigate to, so let's collapse all that to our component of project. So our page for projects. Let's clean up all this and collapse that, and let's go. Let's do this. Okay, so like in the other one, we're going to be using React hooks. So let's add in, we know we're going to be using use effect and use state. Save that. And we know we're going to be using the Sanity client from, I think it's up one more. Yeah. Okay, let's query for our data. So let's set our state first. And we'll do project data and set project data, just like our other one. And we'll do use state, and we'll set that to null. Awesome. Now with our use effect, we will do the same thing. We'll do sanity client.fetch, open that up, backticks, and it's ready for our grok. So in here, we'll do all types of, and all is asterisk, remember, all types that are equal to, and we named it project. Okay. We want to pull out the title. We want to pull out the date. We want to pull out the place. We want to pull out the description. We want to pull out the project type, the link, and the tags. So now we can do whatever we need to with that information. And just like the other one, we'll do a .then, and we're getting the data and setting it to, we called it set project data, and that's now our data. And then a .catch, and then console.error. Okay, and then we want to run just once. And there we go. We're done with the Grok query side of things. So let's now work on the return. So in here, let's open it up, and we have a main section. We have a section, and this is going to look very similar to our blog post because it's still going to be like a grid type thing of just our projects. Section, we have an H1. Oh, let's not open that up yet. Okay. H1, we have an H2, and we have within that, we have another section. Within this section, we have an article. Within the article, we have an H3. And then underneath that H3, we're going to have a div. Within that div, we are going to have a span. We're going to have 1, 2, 3 spans. So we'll just copy that. Paste, paste. Awesome. And then we're going to have a p tag. I know this is like a lot of HTML right now. And then within that, we have a span. Okay. Okay, so let's just look at what's going on here. So we have our main section. We have a section for that. Within that, we have our header. We have our subtitle, our title. We have our subtitle. We have a section, another one, that takes care of the article that has the title of the project and then all the information of the project. And this is where like the project type, the date, all that kind of stuff is going to live. So on the main section, we just need to add some styling. We'll do a class name of, we'll do background green at 100, and we'll do a min height screen and a padding of 12. This section is going to have a class name of, we're going to give it a container and then margin auto. H1, this is our header. We're going to give it a class name of text 5XL, flex, justify center, and cursive, that one that we did earlier that was custom. And then we'll say my projects. Our H2, class name of text large, and this is very similar to how the other page looks. So it's not like too different, but it will have different content on it. Margin bottom 12, and then our subtitle will say, welcome to my projects page. Okay. Now, this section down here, this will have our grid of content. So we're going to do a class name of grid, and then grid columns 2, gap 8. Article will have a class name of relative rounded large shadow XL, background white, and a padding of 16. And then this H3 is not going to have a hard-coded title like our H1 and our H2, but this will have a class name of text gray 800, text 3XL, font bold, margin bottom 2, hover, text is going to be red 700. Now within this H3, let's open this up because we're going to be doing a clickable A tag. Okay. And then in this, it's going to be the project dot title. Okay, so this A tag, let's make this function. So href is going to be equal to project.link, and that's in our Sanity Studio. Remember that. Our hrefs are our alt. So what pops up if there's a screen reader? It'll be project.title, target is equal to, and we want blank, so it opens up a different page. And then for rel, let me explain this. We're going to do no opener and no refer. So it removes the referral option with HTTP header. So we're just going to no refer. There we go. Okay, so yeah, now we have our project title and it is clickable and the A tag is around it and it looks good. So now that's our H3. Now div, this is all the other information we had. Let's give it some styling. Class name is equal to text gray of 500. Text will be extra small and then space around it, X axis of 4. Okay, so in our span, let's open this up and we're going to put a strong tag around this. So in our strong tag, we want to do class name is equal to, and we really want this really strong, font bold, because this is finished on, and then outside of the strong, do that and give it a space. And this is the date. So we're going to do the simplest way JavaScript allows us to format a date. There's plenty of ways to do it. There's packages you can install, but the quickest way is new date, and this is a JavaScript way to do it. New date, and we're going to do our project.date. That's the data that we pulled in. That's our stuff. And then to locale date string. So that's going to be, locale. To locale date string. That's going to be what, it's going to read like where you're at and how it needs to look. And yeah, so that's how our date is going to be. Outside of that span, we're going to do another strong tag with a class name of font bold, close that off, and this will be company, and we'll do the same thing as before, and we'll give it a space. And then below this, it will just be our project.place, so where it happened. So I put Las Vegas, because it was personal, I did that. If I did it for a client and you are able to put the company, like they're like, yeah, you can definitely share us on your portfolio. This is where you would put that information. Right here we have our project type that we're going to be working on. So let's give it strong with a class name, of font bold. And then this will be type. And then after that, same thing, give it a little space. And then it will be project type. Now we have a p tag. Now we use the p tag instead of span because p tag is going to hold our description. So in here, in our p tag, let's do it in this for class name is equal to margin Y of 6. Text is going to be large. Text is going to be gray at 700. And then leading relaxed. So just like a nice spacing. And then in here, this will be our project.description. Now our last span is going to be clickable. So this is going to be like the main spot we want people to click for our project. Even though we did add this title as clickable, it just gives it like another spot. This span is going to have like the main spot for clicking to see the project. So let's put an A tag around it. And let's bring that around. And then in this A tag, let's give it an href of, not that, right there, project.link. Same thing as before. No opener, no referrer. I can't say that. Target is equal to blank, so that it opens up a new window, a new tab, not window. And then we'll give it a class name of text red of 500. Font bold. We'll do hover is underline, so it looks like a clickable thing. Hover is going to be text red at 400. Save that. Bring this back over. Awesome. And then underneath this, before the span, we're going to do view the project. We're going to give it a little space. So that's what's happening here, is I'm doing a string of a space. So it's making that space. In this span, we're going to put an emoji, like a little pointer finger. So this is how emojis need to be done. So the role is an image. It's a little image. ARIA label. It is kind of like an alt tag, but for emojis, kind of. But it's right pointer is what I'm going to be using. And to pull up on a Mac, the emojis, Command Control Spacebar opens it up, and I'm going to do the pointer. And now we have our little emoji. But yeah, this ARIA label is just like saying, like, what is the emoji? It's kind of like the alt tag for it. Now, same thing as before, we have to do we have to map over all this information. Okay, so above article and below section, let's do our map. So we're going to do project data.map. We're going to open that up, and in here, we're going to put project index, do an arrow function, open that up. And before we open that up, we want to wrap these three around down here, right there. Yeah. Okay. So now we're mapping over that section of all of the tiles of the projects that we're going to have. And it all looks good. So if everything is correct, we have our project. We published one. Go to our React app. Cool. So we have our homepage, blog posts, projects, and it's there. Okay. So this is the description that we wrote in. These are the like spans that we did. Type is personal, company, and finish on invalid date. Oh, I know why. Because we didn't put a date. So let's do yesterday. Publish that. Refresh that. There it is. Okay. Now, if we were to click on my first project, that takes us to Google. And if we did view the project, takes us to Google. So either one, those are both clickable, but this is like the one like that makes it look a little more obvious. If we wanted to make that just a little more obvious, come to projects, we collapse that. We'll do text, that's too big. Text XL. There, a little bit bigger, but yeah, looks good. And then if we were to add another one, let's add another one real quick. Project, my school project. And we'll say we finish this. Then place, we'll do my university. I mean, you can put whatever you want there. My final project for my class, old-fashioned smiley. Project type, school. Link, we'll still just do Google. Just the easiest one. And then tags, we'll say university, school, project, and education. Publish that. And we go back here, give it a little refresh, and there it is. Okay, so now that our projects page is talking to the Sanity Studio, let's actually make our blog post. So projects click into a URL and it takes us somewhere else. But blog posts, if we were to click into one of these, it takes us to our single post page. So let's get that up and running. So the way we're doing our image for this is we are bringing in the image directly from the Grok query and using it like that. A different way we can use our images is by using our image URL package that Sanity has. So let me show you how that works. So in single post, let's bring in just a couple things that we know that we need. So we know we need use effect and use state. And we know that we need the Sanity client from client. And then because we are looking at the URL and we're looking at the slug of the URL, every single one of these is going to be unique. So every time we go into this, this component, this page, it's going to show different data depending on which tile we clicked on in the post component. So this one, we're actually going to also bring in use params from React router. Okay, so what use params does is it's going to take out like sections of the URL that we need and use it accordingly. So because we're getting the slug, we need to get use params in there. Now, down here, we're going to set our state. We'll do const, and we'll do single post, and set single post, and we'll set that equal to use state, and our initial state will be null. Okay, now we're going to be using the use param, so we're going to do const, and we're going to set that to our slug, because that's the part of the URL that we really want to pull out. Use params, and so we'll just let that sit there for a second, and when we use params, we're going to be calling it slug. Okay, now the package that we want to bring in, that's a Sanity package, is the image URL. So this image URL is going to help us chain on stuff for our image, pull out the URL, maybe chain on the width, a height, whatever it is, but let me show how to do that. So the package that we want to add, let's go to this one. This is our React. So let's cancel that or stop that running. So Control C, and we're going to do npm install, and it's going to be at Sanity image URL. So we'll let that install, bring that down. And over here, we're going to import image URL builder from Sanity image URL. Okay, so this is going to allow us to do the thing that I was telling you earlier where we're going to chain on some stuff. And it's really pulling out the URL from the image. So it's just kind of an easier way to do it, but I did both ways so you could see both ways and pick whichever one works for you. We do need to build out a function, also a variable that we are going to be using in that function. So image URL builder using the Sanity client. And then in here, we're going to do function URL for the source of this return of builder dot image and the source of that. So by typing all this out real quick, we have the building blocks for this URL4 that we're going to be using for our image. And it looks like that was installed. Awesome. So that was added. And we can collapse this. Okay. So now that we have that, and we're not going to use it yet, we're going to use that in our return. Let's build out our Grok query. So same as last time, we'll do use effect. And then in here, we'll do an arrow function that uses the Sanity client that fetches our Grok query. Okay, now this one's going to look a little different than the other two because the slug is dependent on whatever post we click on. So we're going to do all slug.current that is equal to whatever the slug is. So whatever slug that was clicked on, we're going to look at that slug.current. Now we're going to open that up, and let's bring this down. We're going to pull out the title. We want the ID. We want the slug. We want the main image. We want to pull out the ID of that. And last thing is we need the body. And because we want the author card to show up on this, we're going to give it. Okay, let me explain what I'm doing here because this is kind of fun. But let me just finish typing it out. And we'll do author image. Okay, so what's happening here is name and author image. I could actually change it to author name, but I'm just going to have both so we can see both. But I'm diving into the author and the name and the author and the image, and I'm giving it a name that works better for me rather than having to dive and do author.name. So I'm giving it an alias name, kind of. So you can name that whatever you like. I'm naming it name and author image. Now, after that, we need to do a dot then. And we have our data that is now set single post. And we want the first bit of data that comes out of that. So a little bit different than the other two. Then we're going to catch any errors with console.error. And then we want just the single slug to come out. Okay. Now, if there's not a slug that comes out, like maybe the slug was broken, maybe we deleted something happened, but if there is no single post, then return a div that says loading. So it doesn't break anything, but just in case you have that. So yeah. Now in our return, this is where we're going to use the URL for. We're also going to be using another Sanity package that I won't give any spoilers yet, but let me clean that up. And yeah, we're going to have, and we're going to do our whole HTML setup thing real quick. Main, we're going to have an article. We're going to have a header. We're going to have a div within that, another div within that, an H1. And underneath that H1, we're going to have a div with an image in it. And I know what that image is, but we'll look at that in a second. And then we're going to have a p tag underneath that. Okay, now underneath all those divs, we're going to have one more image. Oh, that wasn't right. There we go. Okay, and then underneath the header, we're going to have one more div, and this is going to be block content. We will get back there in a second. That's totally going to change, but that's what that looks like right now. Let me put this to the side, or get rid of that. So here's our return. We have our main, article. Cool. So we have our article, we have our header, and in that header we have an H1, an image, and a p tag. So yeah, let's style these out slowly, one by one, and we'll make it look good. So main class name is going to be equal to background of gray at 200, min height screen, and padding of 12. Our article is going to have class name of container. So this should look very similar to the other ones. MX auto, background of green 100, and rounded large. Our header, we're just going to have a class name of relative. And then this div is going to be class name of absolute. We want height to be full. We want width to be full. Flex, the items we want to be centered. And justify center. And a padding of 8. Now this div, class name of background white, background opacity 75, rounded P12. This H1 will do a class name. We're going to be using cursive, the one that our custom one that we made, cursive text 3XL. And on large screens, we want that text to be 6XL and a margin bottom of 4. Now, this H1 is going to be our single post title. Oh, this P tag should be right underneath this image because this is the image of our author, and this is the P tag of the author's name. So that's why we have a little like div around it, a little like author card. So let's style that. So we have the title of the post, and we have a little author card that we're creating. So class name is going to be flex. We'll do justify center. Text is gray at 800. Our image, our source is going to be, and this is where we get to use our URL4. So URL4, and you'll see how this is a little bit different than what we've been doing with the other images. So it'll be single post, dot author image, and then dot URL. So it's pulling out the URL for it. If I wanted to manipulate the size of it, I could do dot width, but we won't do that right here. But that's how it's going to work right now. We're going to have an alt equal to single post dot name. Remember, that is the author's name. And then we'll have a class name equal to width of 10, height of 10, rounded, full. Save that. And then the last one we need to work on is the P tag for the author card. So class name is equal to, we'll do cursive, the one that we made, flex, items center, padding left of 2, and a text of 2XL. And in the P tag, we're going to have single post dot name. So that's where the author's name is going to show up. Awesome. Now in this image is going to be our main image that we have. Okay, so we have image, we have source is equal to, we're going to do single post dot main image dot asset dot URL. Okay, now this is where I want to show you the differences between the two. See how I did URL4? Oh, good thing I went back up because that's a typo. URL4, and I didn't have to, so this is like a chain on that I had to do to get to that URL. Instead, I can just grab that image and get the URL out of it right away. So I don't need to do much work, but then I can chain on a lot of things for it. So let me pull that up real quick. So here, you can add a width to it. You can add a height to it. You can add a blur to it. There's a lot of like different things you can do to it. And it's just like quick like styling and manipulation of the photo without having to do a lot of work. So this package is really awesome. We're not showing like the true potential of it here because this is just like a quick portfolio that we're creating. You can choose how you want to use it, but they're both there. Both options are there. Okay, so let's get back. We have this one. Let's do an alt of single post dot title. And then we'll do a class name. Oh, let's go up. Class name equal to, we'll do width full, object cover, because we want it to cover the whole thing, and rounded top. Now we're going to give a little bit of styling to this that we have to do inline because this is kind of like a specific size that we want to get, and it's just a little bit easier right now. So we're going to do 400 pixel because we want this thing to be pretty big. Okay, Now, the last thing we need to worry about is this block content. So in this div, let's just give some styling to it. Class name is equal to padding X of 16. On large screens, we want a padding X of 48, padding Y of 12. And on large screens, we want padding Y of 20. We're using pros class here. Pros is going to allow our block content. So if we have a list, if we have anything that needs like its default styling, pros from Tailwind is what we're using for that. And we brought that in at the very beginning. Pros on large, we want pros to be XL, max, width is full. Save that. Now in here, we need to install a Sanity dependency. So control tilde, open that up, and I'm going to install npm install at sanity / block content to React. Now while that installs, let me import it at the top of the file. Oh, I'm glad I see these things, but I was like, why is this still grayed out? Because we used it, because I forgot the S. Typos are they're getting me. So yeah, we'll import block content from at sanity / block content to React. And let's use that at the bottom. So all we need to do is do block content, close it off, and in here we'll do blocks is equal to, so the blocks of content is equal to single post dot body, and we have a project ID. Remember, our project ID lives in client. We'll grab that. And we have our data set is production. Okay. So that is our entire single post component. So what's going on here? Block content. This block content is this. So if I clicked activate and I make this big, we can add images, we can add different styling, we can add bulleted list, URL strong. So in order for all this to look correct, we added in block content. And this one is specific for React. So that's why we use this one. So block content is taking all of our portable text and putting it all together in one rather than having the chunks, and showing a beautiful single post top body that we asked for. So super awesome. And let's see how it looks. So we can bring that down. So if everything is correct, everything is not correct. I need to restart my server. npm start. Let it load. Okay, now if everything is correct, if I click into one of these, it should show my stuff, my content. And it does, and it shows my author card, it shows my title, it shows that little div that we made for all that to sit in. It shows my main image, the text. So this looks really good. Let's add a bulleted list. This is fun. I love my new portfolio. Awesome stuff. Okay. Publish that. Let's see what it looks like. There it is. So, I just made the edit and it's already showing up. That's awesome. So there's our blog post. Same thing here. Looks good. Now projects are done, and let's work on the About Me page. It's our last one, and then we can deploy all this and send the URL out to everyone. Okay, so our final one is the About page. So let's work on that. Some things that we know that we need. our use effect and use state. And then we're going to want to bring in the Sanity client from that client file that we made. And so this one's going to have a background image, the image of the author, and then the bio. So let's set our state up real quick. So we're going to do const. We'll set it to author and then set author. And then use state, our initial state will be set to null. And then for our use effect, we'll do the same thing that we've been doing. Sanity client.fetch. And then in here is our grok. Now this grok is going to be a little bit smaller than what we have been working with, but we're going to get all that have the type equal to author. And then open that up, and we're going to look for the name of the author, bio, and we're going to do the author image and set that to image.asset URL. Okay, nice. And then we're going to do our .then, and we'll do our data and set that to our set author, and then the first part of that. And then next we're going to do a catch and do console.error. That looks really good, and we want to run once. Now, if there's no author, we can do the thing that we've been doing, the if no author, then we'll return a div that says loading. Now, for our background image, I'm just going to use an image from my downloads. Let me grab that real quick. So in here, in the source, we'll drop it in there, and we have our Plumeria picture. This is going to be our background for our about page. So let's bring that in. We'll do import, we'll do Plumeria from, and it's to up, plumeria.jpg. Awesome. Now that image is going to be used in our return down here. So let's start doing the return. And let's set up our HTML. Okay, so we have our main. We have an image right here. We have a div. Within that div, we have a section that's going to hold an image. And within that, it's also going to hold another div that has an h1. And our block content for our bio is going to be right here. And we'll just say block content. And we'll do like what we did with the single post. We'll do our block content from React, and we'll bring all that in. It's already been installed, so we don't have to wait for that install. And yeah, so let's start building out this main section. Let's give it some styling. So we'll do class name is equal to relative. Now our image is going to have a source of that Plumeria that we just brought in. We're going to give it an alt of Plumeria flower, and then class name is going to be absolute, and then width full. Okay, now we should have a background image right now, but let's not look at it yet. Now in this div, we'll do a class name of, we'll do padding 10. On large screens, we're going to have a padding top of 48, and then container, MX auto. I wanted to write author right there. And then relative. Awesome. So in this section, we'll do a class name of background green of 800, so pretty dark. We'll do a rounded large, shadow 2XL, and then on large screens, we'll have flex, and then a padding of 20. And then this image is going to be our author image that we brought in from the studio. So let's do the URL for that we've been using. And I got to bring in that package, but let me just build this out real quick. So we'll do author image, because that's what we called it up there. And then we'll do .url. Okay, so from the top, let's bring in image URL builder from Sanity image URL. And then we need to use this. So I'm going to bring in that function that we built out from single post and have that right there. And then it's going to be using the URL4 that we use right here. Okay, so this class name for this image is going to have rounded, width 32, height 32, and then on large screens, width of 64 and a height of 64. And then margin right, always of 8. Now, we are just creating a square for our image. And then the alt, alt is going to be author.name. So whatever the name is for the author. Now, this div, let's give it a class name of text large, flex column, and then justify center. This H1's going to have our name. Let's do class name is equal to cursive, that one that we made earlier, text 6XL, text green of 300, and then a margin bottom of 4. Within this H1, we are going to do, so we're going to do hey there, and we're going to create a space right there. And then under here, let's do a span that will have a class name of text green 100. So it's going to be a little bit different color than the hey there, and this will have author.name, so the name. And then let's style where this block content is going to go. We'll do class name is equal to prose on large screens, prose XL, and then text white. So this block content is going to be what we did in the single post component. So we'll do block content. And then in block content, let's give it blocks is equal to the author's bio. So author.bio. And then project ID. That ID right here. And then we'll do data set is equal to production. Now it's not going to be happy because we need to bring in import. We need to bring in the block content from block content to React. There we go. Okay, so this should all be working, and I see a mistake. That's not a path. So let me save that. And yeah. Oh, it looks good. Okay, so here's the background image that we brought in. Here's that span that we created. So we did like the different text, and there's the bio and the image, and it looks great. So yeah, the about page is done. So I'm super stoked on this. This looks really good. The last thing we need to do is deploy all of this and get it all ready. So I'm just going to commit all of this. We already set up GitHub at the beginning. So we'll do git status. There should be a lot. Yeah. Git add, git status, because I like to see the green. Green says it's been added. So git commit -m. It's going to be entire portfolio, because it really is. Git push origin main. That is being pushed, and it's done. And let's get this deployed. Okay, so because this is a single page application and we are going to be deploying our front end to Netlify, we do need to actually add a redirects file to our project so that as Netlify is reading it, it knows like I need, like as I'm navigating this project, I'm going to be redirected to other things. So very quickly, let's do that. Let's get rid of this. And in our public, we're going to do a new file. It's going to be _ redirects. And in here, it's just going to say HTML, index.html of 200. So every time it goes, it's going to look for this, and then it will redirect from there. So we're good there. Let me push that real quick. Git status, git add, git status, git commit -m, redirects file, and git push origin main. Okay, so let's pull in my Netlify, and new site from Git is what I've clicked on, and we're going to create a new site. So from GitHub, because that's where mine lives, authorized, okay. We're going to look for it's called My Portfolio. Let it think, let it find it. There it is. So click on that. From main, and let's deploy the site. Looks good from my team. Okay, so that's starting up. Over here, let's go back to our Sanity Studio, kill this, and let's do Sanity deploy. This is going to deploy our Sanity Studio. So notice I'm in the Sanity folder for this. I do Sanity deploy, hit enter, and studio hostname. So I can name this anything I would like. I can do Kapehe portfolio. Let's see if that's available. It is. So at kapeheportfolio.sanity.studio is where my Sanity Studio for this project is going to live. So it's building it out. Let's see how our Netlify is doing. Still deploying, still working on it. And this is still working on it. Being able to deploy our studio and our front end. And every time we add something to our front end, it's going to, or anything we add to our studio will show up in our front end. So I'm going to take this. That's where our studio lives now. That's pretty awesome. That's fun. Oh, and this is done. Okay. Okay. So there's a little thumbnail. I'm going to do domain settings, and I'm going to do edit site name, and I'm going to do Kapehe portfolio. Already taken. I may have taken it. 2. Okay, that one works. Okay. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that in. Let's hit enter. Let's hit enter on our studio. And it is deployed. And it is deployed. Okay, that's awesome. Now we need to tell our Sanity Studio that this is a trusted URL. Because remember we had the cores origins before? So we need to do manage.sanity. Go to the studio. See, that's the deployed URL now. We need to go to settings, API, add new origin, and we're going to add the one that we just deployed. So now it should all be trusted because before that wouldn't have shown up. And it looks good. And we're going to click into it and we're going to see our content and it looks fantastic. Now let's change something and see it happen in real time. So we're going to come here. Let me make this bigger because it's so small. Let's change my bio. Let's do author. Let's come here. We'll do also enjoys anime and hanging out with her 5 animals. Let's publish that. And it should be live on our deployed site. Refresh. And there it is. Oh, it's so quick. So that's real time. And it's up on our website and we don't have to work locally. We can send this out to our group, our team, whoever it is that's helping us if we're working on a group project. And everyone can have access to the studio. You have to do that in settings. Remember here, team, you add people here. But as they add stuff, they have the ability to add a new blog post, and right away, the whole team can see the updates here. But yeah, our entire portfolio is done. We have everything working. It's all functioning. It's deployed. And we did it. We made a portfolio. It looks beautiful. Of course, feel free to style and change everything. But the functionality is there. We have the studio communicating with the front end. We have the front end displaying all the great stuff that we've done. And thanks to Tailwind, we were able to do some awesome styling. All right, we did it. It's done. It looks fantastic. It's functioning how we want it to. We have everything deployed, the front end and the back end. And yeah, congratulations, everyone. So a couple of things, if you'd like to customize your Tailwind a little bit more, there are themes, there are colors. So definitely check out the Tailwind docs and you can take it to the next level if you'd like with your Tailwind. Also, if you would like to check out the Sanity docs, this will give you more in-depth of Grok. We used a lot of Grok today. Sanity Studio. The Sanity Studio is actually customizable. So if you have a color that you'd rather have the studio, you can definitely do that. But definitely dive into the docs of Sanity if you'd like to learn more there. Now, if you'd like, we do have a Sanity community Slack workspace that you can join, slack.sanity.io. And here you can find a lot of support with your Sanity projects, whether it be React or Next. If you did it with Next, there's a large community there, always willing to help. Also, we have an I Made This channel. So if you have your portfolio and you want to share it, definitely share it to the I Made This channel. We'd love to see it. And it's very exciting to see what people create. So we'd love to see it there. If you'd like to find me on Twitter, let me just click on this because it is functioning. You can find me at Kapehe_OK and my DMs are open. So if you'd like to send your portfolio there as well, I'd love to see it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out. We did it and it looks great. Thank you, everyone. Mahalo.